Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to When the Shift Hits the Fan. And we are all of March. We're doing March Madness, the things that make us mad and make us crazy, and how we can actually put those into perspective. And perhaps even, if we're really, really good at this, make them work for us instead of against us. And Linda, I'm going to start off here tonight just because I've been working with a few people that are actually just starting on the internet marketing world and wanting to make some changes, work from home, and they really are finding it so overwhelming. And we've kind of adopted a little thing that I've done in my life that really has helped me when I think actually I might have even done this in law school back then, because the hours and what I had to do and everything seemed very overwhelming to me at times then. And it's just that 1%. And I want to put it in perspective. I talked a little bit about this morning on another call I had done about, let's say you have to lose 30 pounds. And, you go, I have to lose 30 pounds. And it just seems like such a, something that, it's almost like I have to do it tomorrow. Like inside your head, all you see is this big flashing red 30, 30, 30, 30. And it just throws you out of your comfort zone, like right slamming against the wall. And you actually never get started because it's too much. And so, if you looked at that from a different perspective, and we're all about shifting your perspective here because it makes it easy. I like easy. It's just maybe saying, instead of talking about 30 pounds, don't even worry about how many pounds it might be, but just say, every day I am going to do the things that allow me to lose 1 pound of weight. Just 1 pound, that's all I'm looking for. Or if you're in business, I am going to do whatever it takes today to get 1 lead into my business. So let's take that on down the road. If we started today on March 3rd and we got to March 31st and we actually did those things each and every day, just a small little step, just 1%, and then 1% tomorrow, at the end of the month, it's like a 30% gain. It could be almost 30 pounds. It could be almost 30 leads. You could really, you're going to see a 30% gain. And I mean, if you think about that, what if you don't get to the 30 pounds or the 30 people in your business, but you've lost 22 pounds and you have 6 people in your business? I mean, that's something that you should be joyous about. And like Linda is always bringing up to all of us, we celebrate the little wins. So I don't think we do that enough, and I think that we bite off more than we can chew. And it's because that's the way we're led to believe. Linda, help me out here on this one. We set the goals, and we always say to people, that's the goal way off there on the horizon, and you need to create the steps to get there. But people are still got their eye on the prize and not what their feet are doing. And wow, causing a mind riot in your head, that's got to just be the worst feeling.
It definitely is, Mark, and that feeling kind of reminds me of way back when, watching the Flintstones cartoons where Fred Flintstone gets into the car and his feet go 90 miles an hour and he doesn't move.
Yep.
He doesn't get anywhere. He's spinning his wheels, and we all do that. You were talking about that chunking it down into smaller pieces, and I think about something. I know that our listeners have heard this before, and even a very wise CFO, a chief financial officer that I used to work with in another health system, also asked me this one time when I was doing the very same thing. I was doing the Fred Flintstone. I was spinning my wheels, and I wasn't going anywhere, and he just looked at me out of the blue. Linda, I said, what? How, yeah, exactly like it. What?
Yeah, exactly. Because at that point you're frustrated. So what? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, yeah. And then he came back and said, "How do you eat an elephant?" I said, "Excuse me." He said, "How do you eat an elephant?" Oh, I don't know. How do you eat an elephant? He said, "One bite at a time."
Mhm. 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 But looking at that big elephant, what went through your mind was, that's impossible, right?
Right. How am I going to eat this whole entire elephant?
Yeah.
I can't do this. I'm just going to throw up my arms and quit because this is impossible. That's exactly what was going through my mind at the time.
Mhm.
But then he got my mind off the problem and then immediately brought it down into perspective. How do you eat an elephant? What?
Yep.
One bite at a time. One bite
Well,
at a time.
exactly, and it's hard to see that because, like I said, we're set upon achieving goals. So they always say, and I mean, it's a good thing to do, you know, achieving goals. I mean, how many people were you given this question? I know I got it every time I applied for a job. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I'm going.
You know what I always wanted to say? I have to put this in there. I always wanted to say, I don't know. What do you want to hear?
Pretty much that, and they think that. Yeah, that was pretty much going through my head too. Like, I have no clue, dude. I'm just thinking maybe I don't even want this job. But that's the thing. Like, at some point in our lives, we weren't really conditioned to do that. We weren't thinking ahead. I mean, in our 20s, it's a day-by-day thing. Then somehow, you know, I know for me, it's when I started with the Robbins Foundation, and that was part of my training. Linda, I know it was part of your training too. We must teach people to have goals and to set these goals and to see themselves in that picture. I get that, but you know what? When it's too overwhelming for you and it's an elephant and you can't see any way at all that you can eat that elephant, it won't matter what those goals are because you're never going to get there. You have to stop thinking about it. And you know what? I just had gone to this seminar. You know, I was almost late for the show tonight. But it was all about people and why people cannot lose weight. And really a lot of it kind of sunk in with me because it was more, this guy actually was really interesting because this guy was all about, you know, hypnosis and how, you know, to trick your mind into, you know, not eating the chocolate bar, I don't know. But at any rate, he didn't do any of that at all. You know, what people thought they were walking into is, oh, he's going to train my mind to not see the chocolate. But that wasn't it. It was looking at the chocolate bar and having a piece of it and accepting and knowing and taking the time to understand how satisfying that one piece is, and then asking yourself, why do you need more than that? And then he said, in this case, the negative works good. Like, you have to say, are you going to be gluttonous about this, or are you going to be satisfied with how amazing this feeling is right now? But he brought this up, and I started thinking about that, and I thought, you know, that's what happens to all the people. And I know, Linda, you know this too. I know you know it in health practice. We kind of talked about this a little bit last week, is how overwhelmed people are with their lives in general. Oh, I got to do this. Got to pick up the kids. Got to get the car washed. Got to get groceries. Got to get something on the table. Got to phone Mabel. Oh, wait a second. I was supposed to meet my girlfriend for wine. We live these big lives. We never take the proper time for ourselves, and we never take the time to the little things. Like, we're overwhelming and making our minds crazy all of the time. All of the time we do this because that's how we're thinking. We think we're multitasking. We're just, you know, I always think of this as, you know, those little muddling things that you have to muddle your spices. Really, that's all you're doing, and everything kind of gets mooshed together, and nothing is satisfactory at all. Like, so how do we do this? How do we do this where we're telling you have to challenge your comfort zone to move forward, but we're telling you also not to get overwhelmed about it? And I know some of you are sitting there going, I'm shaking in my boots just thinking about it. And I can say, from my perspective, and I'll bring mine and Linda weigh in, is from my perspective, you don't cure your fear of heights by jumping out of an airplane. That could give you a heart attack. What you want to do is go to the comfort level, 3 flights up, and look out the balcony, and then maybe challenge it 1 more floor the next day. So that's very literal, but I think that that's what we have to do in our lives, is we have to sit down and think about what is important to me today. And that's that list that we make, and we challenge that, but we don't make ourselves crazy, and we live and with all of these expectations that we put on ourselves. Because I'm going to tell you, you're living in a life where you're looking at other people and you want what they have, or they think it looks like they're living this big life and you don't have that, and so you're jealous of that, or you want that, and you feel lack and dissatisfaction inside yourself. Man, you don't know what's going on in their life. Like, Linda, help me out here.
Oh, definitely, Mark. And the most dangerous thing that any of us can do is compare ourselves to somebody that we feel like, although it's probably false, but we feel like are living a better life than we are. That's not the proper use of the law of relativity. We should be comparing ourselves, if we compare at all, to someone who is less fortunate, so that we can be so incredibly grateful for the abundance that we have. I'm going to go out on a limb here, Mark, and I'm going to say something and suggest something that's going to rub a lot of our listeners the wrong way because of the way that we've been taught. But my very first recommendation to anyone who's actually wanting to succeed in a big way and take control of that enormous to-do list that we think we have to do, and I'm going to say, take the term multitasking and throw it out the window and pretend that you've never heard of it before. I think it's the most dangerous term in our language today.
Oh,
because
I agree.
To be realistic here, we cannot truly multitask because our anatomy, our brain is set up in such a way, our mind is set up in such a way that it really does want to focus on one thing at a time. And when you really grasp that understanding to the degree that you cannot have a positive and a negative thought going on at the same time, you are either, no matter what you tell yourself, you are either having a positive or a negative thought. You're not having both at the same time. They cannot occupy the same space. So don't try to do it. So if you're rushing around trying to get 10 million things done and you're getting frustrated, I can tell you right now, you're occupying a negative space because you're frustrated, you're trying to force something, and that's what's taking total control over your mind at that point in time. And so I say the very first step is to step back and take a big breath. And as you said, Mark, ask the question, what is the most important thing that I need to get accomplished right now? Take the time to answer that question and be in that particular moment to get that task done.
Yep, that task. And also ask, what's going to satisfy your soul the most? Because we ignore ourselves more than I think any of us are willing to admit. And that's in a lot of things, in work and relationships. And, women in general tend to put themselves after everybody else. Like if everybody else on the plane has their mask on when we're going down, then I'll put mine on. I mean, we're ridiculous that way. But a lot of men are the same because they have that protective quality and they're going to protect their family and they have to go out and they have to have this job and they have to do this, not ever realizing that maybe what you're working for is not what your family wants. Maybe they just want more time with you. And they could do with a little less money and a lot more time with you. But we have these perceptions in our mind from all of the things, like how we were raised, what we see other people doing, you know, all of this stuff. And we never, ever stop to analyze it or understand it or even figure out if we want it. Like, it was funny. I met this person, I don't know, he was driving I don't know, I can't remember the vehicle. And we started talking about something, and he said, well, I don't even actually like this vehicle, but this guy across the street or something like that, or, you know, he looked so cool in it, I thought I had to have one too. And I'm going, really? You know, like I'd rather be driving, you know, a minivan type of thing because I find it more comfortable, but it wasn't in vogue. It wasn't cool. So buy the Corvette and be uncomfortable instead. And how many times have people done that? Like, they cut their hair the way a movie star does. What?
No, I agree with you, Mark. And it goes back to our human worry, which if you really break it down and think about it, is absolutely ridiculous when we worry about what other people think about us. You know, I don't remember the original person who said this, but I love the mantra, what other people think about me is none of my business.
Yep. I've been told that all of my life.
Absolutely. What that does is it brings the focus away from what other people think about you to what you think about you. I mean, that's the most important thing. In the end, it's not... all of this other garbage is just other people's conditioning, other people's thought processes and perspectives about the way that their world, and I emphasize their world, should be. It has nothing to do with you and your world and how you believe that your world should be. We just need to get over ourselves there.
Yeah. And, you know, and I know I know there's people out there going, yeah, whatever, right? Whatever. Like, how do you even manage that? Because I have to get along with my friends. And, you know, we're not saying ditch all your friends and hang out with yourself. Cultivate an environment that is conducive to where you want to be and who you are right now. And that may mean that some of your friends are going to fall by the wayside. It may mean that you leave a job that you might have. Maybe you will become a successful entrepreneur. I mean, it's a scary step to take. I get that, because that in itself is a huge leap out of your comfort zone for most people, losing one friend, because we invest so much into it. It's just like parents. You know, we invest so much into our children that when they grow up to be their own people, we almost, you know, we put so much pressure on them to act a certain way. And it was funny because I was just talking to someone else too. They said, well, you know, these people are always talking about how they want their child to be a certain way because they're embarrassed if their child does something because it reflects on them. And I'm going, well, how old are they? You know, 6? And they're going, no, 25 and 30. And I'm going, well, hello? You know, what has that got to do with you? You really, do you raise them at 18 or 21, whatever the legal age is in your world? I mean, that's when you did all that you could do. And we've talked about this. Probably now, by the time they're 12 or 13, probably even younger in today's world, they're already on their way into making their own personality and being who they want to be. And they don't want you hanging on to their coattails anymore. And then I think that's why kids rebel so much. It's because we're still trying to mold them, and they're going, enough with the mold already. I'm going to try molding myself, and if I'm, really crappy at it, well, then maybe I'll ask for your advice. But you need to let go. And we do that with everything, our jobs. How many people do you know, Linda, where their job defines them?
Oh, more than I can hold in both hands. It's crazy that people allow their jobs to define them. And then, in the world today, they may think that this is very secure, and their whole persona, their life as they see it, is wrapped up into this job. And then guess what, Mark? There's corporate cutbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even through no fault of their own, they've been performing well, they've been doing what they've been required to do, but now all of a sudden they find themselves out there alone without that defined job, without that security blanket that they thought that they had wrapped around them.
Well, yeah, and how many times have you heard somebody introduce somebody? And I know I hear this all the time, and I guess I'm kind of rude about it, but I'll say, "Oh, this is my husband, John. He's a CEO with General Motors," and I'm going, "Yeah, but who is he?" Like, really? That's who you think your husband is? I mean, hi, this is my husband, my best friend. I don't need to know that he's a CFO or anything at General Motors. Like, so many people do this, and or my husband's, or my wife is a corporate exec or that. What does that make you in the real life person?
Well, nothing, because that's just the external description.
Yeah, but in this world, we do this all the time. All the time. And I mean, and we never question it either. Oh, that's nice. That's awesome. You must, great on you. I mean, I'm going, well, yeah, that's your job. What do you like to do for kicks? Who are you? I want to, and then people look at you like, I'm a nobody. I do nothing. Really? And that's the mind riot going on. Although, I think, Linda, I mean, it's almost the reverse of it. It's a mind numbing. What book have you read lately?
Well, as a matter of fact, no.
Well, and but it is like that, right? And I kind of like social media a little bit because it's about likes and dislikes. And I mean, people are engaging in a different way. Like sometimes you go this fantasy world over here in Facebook, because I really think for the most part it is fantasy, because people are never that nice. But it's kind of like a better interaction with things. Like you get a better idea on people's because it doesn't. You might congratulate somebody if they got a job or whatever, but it's more along, I went out gardening today, and then 50 people, oh, that's great, what are you growing? Those are the kinds of conversations that create an environment of growth. What you do for a living, or whether you're single, or whether you're married, or whether you have 2 kids, or 20, unless you're on some reality show, that might matter, but those things don't matter. That internal part of you, the uniqueness of you, gets lost in I'm my job, or I'm my husband's wife, or I'm my wife's spouse. I mean, how degrading is that for all of us to do? And your mind doesn't like working on that level. And if you keep staying there, you're never going to jump out of any comfort zone. And that's a person who is in the mailroom right now, and they make their way up to, mid-management, let's say that. That's going to be such a great accomplishment to them, right? I was working in the mailroom, and now I'm, the manager of the whole Western District. Who are you as a person? What made you? What decisions did you make that, you wanted to strive for more? And what else? It's amazing to me how we get so caught up in and I've done it in the past too. Yeah, we all have.
I have too. And you know what, Mark? If we would just take the time to push our ego aside, because that's where that definition by title comes from, is our ego. We're trying to impress. If we would just realize, if we push that aside and let our true self shine, that we can actually make more and stronger connections than we ever dreamed possible. Because people are connecting with, and I almost hate to use this word, but it's true, they're connecting with our authentic self. The person who's not pretending, the person who is there, who's genuinely concerned about what they have come to this planet Earth to do.
Well, and we can't live with external knobs only either. And I mean, that's in everything. That's like even your job. If you are working at a career, I hate the word job actually, your career, whatever it is, and it can be the Walmart greeter. If that's what gives you joy, then I would not, I defy anybody to take that away from you, because I don't know why, people make judgments. People will make judgments about you regardless of your station in life, let me tell you that. Because if you're rich, you got people throwing rocks at you anyways because you must have stole it from somebody. And if you're poor, you didn't work hard enough. I mean, people will judge you regardless of your station in life. So it's you yourself that has to come to some kind of a terms of where you are. And that's that 1%. And not to get overwhelmed. Like if now maybe you want to be the CFO of General Motors and you're in the mailroom right now. Well, you're not going to do that tomorrow, but maybe you're going to have to go to school. Maybe you're going to have to take a few courses, make some life adjustments, maybe revisit it, and maybe you should take a better look at the stress and maybe that guy doesn't have any time with his family. Maybe you should look at things before you start coveting them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, Mark, because what we see on the outside, it's just like the iceberg description that I like to use when I explain the difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind, where the conscious mind is that little piece of the iceberg that you see on top of the water, but the subconscious mind is this enormous 90% that you don't see. And it's the same thing when we're judging people or people are judging us from the external persona, the mask that we present to the world. They're only seeing that itsy-bitsy little piece. And so when we're looking at somebody and thinking that their life is all rosy and sweet and wonderful with no bumps, we're only seeing that 10%. We have no idea what they went through to get to where they are today. And
exactly.
So why would we be sitting there judging it?
Well, and I think that you feel small inside when you judge people. I just really believe that. I think if you're confident in yourself, satisfied in yourself, your mind is calm and focused on the things that you enjoy and you want to achieve in your life, you're less likely to judge other people. Because there's just no room there. Like it just doesn't enter the room. Let's put it that way.
Right.
It's just not there. It's not even a consideration. Like you said, it's none of my business what other people think of me, and it isn't. But you know what? I'll take it one step further. I'll jump, 100% past that. Just saying, I don't even concern yourself with any of it, because in the bottom line, we die alone. When it gets right down to it, exactly. And so it doesn't matter if you're a rich man, a poor man, or somewhere in the middle. Who's going to come isn't going to be looking at the casket. Who's going to come are be the friends and relationships and the person that you were, not the CFO of GM. Maybe some employees will come because they get the day off or something. Maybe they liked you. I won't be that callous, but you know what I mean. The connections you made in life from whatever station you were in, they are going to be the people that honor you, and that's who you should honor. And that's why I think you see a lot of people who made it big out of their, from being poor, say, and now they've got a lot of money. Why they go back and give back so much? Because they can, and they do it not because somebody's looking at them and expects them to do it, but because they remember and know and never leave that in their heart of hearts. That's who they are. It's like I don't feel any different, Linda, from the day that I had no money to the first $1 million I made. Not at all. I just don't. I'm just
right.
It's just money.
Exactly, Mark. It's the legacy. You know, people talk about the legacy that they leave, but the legacy is the human being you chose to show up as. It's not the jewels. It's not the money. It's not the sparkly, fancy things. It's the person inside, that human being that reached out and said, how may I help others to achieve more or better in their lives? What can I do to help? That's the legacy, and that's the people that are remembered, and those are the people who will have the masses, not to be morbid, but the masses that come to their funeral, because those are the true lives that they've touched in a meaningful way.
Yep. So this entire month, for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about, taming the riot in your mind and connecting you better with yourself and internally, making some great strides in your life, but 1% at a time. And, moving into a comfort zone, putting the cloak on, and then moving a little bit forward. We're going to be working really hard at that. So we hope that you enjoyed this evening with us. I always give Linda the last word here tonight. What say you, my friend, to our awesome listeners?
Well, to our awesome listeners, I would like to borrow an affirmation from Louise Hay. She is an awesome lady, and I study many of her works, but it just fits tonight. So the affirmation is this: I am important. I count. I now care for and nourish myself with love and joy. I allow others the freedom to be who they are. We are all safe and free.
Beautiful, 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 Linda. Thank you so much. So, my friends, we are down another half an hour, and thank you for spending some time with us tonight. So, from Mark here in Canada, good night, everyone.
And from Linda here in Florida, good night.